This was a big mark in the history of the giant demon clan. From this moment on, they were no longer a rank 4 cultivation country but rank 5. Suzaku attached great importance to this. So one of the ascendants of Suzaku personally met the soul transformation ancestor of the giant demon clan. In truth, there had been rumors that the giant demon clan had a soul transformation cultivator, but no one could confirm it. However, the chances were high because the young master of the giant demon clan, Chi-Hu, had come back with a lot of celestial jade. When the ancestor used his soul transformation cultivation to apply for the right to become a rank 5 cultivation country, the rumor was confirmed. The giant demon clan wasn't native to Suzaku. They had moved here. Chi-Hu was able to battle a late-stage soul formation at the mid-stage of soul formation, so it was clear how powerful they were. The innate-born superpower of the giant demon clan undergoes a change when they reach the soul transformation stage. The fact that an ascendant from Suzaku personally came to increase their country's rank showed how powerful it was. It has to be said that Suzaku normally only sends out a late-stage soul transformation cultivator to manage this process. The promotion of the giant demon clan was like a drop of ink in water. There wouldn't be much change at first, but then it will begin to spread everywhere. None of this had anything to do with Wang Lin though. He walked out of the valley and went into the formation with Feng Yushan and company. Right before he disappeared, he turned around to look at the valley. The country of Suzaku was on the largest continent on planet Suzaku. It was named the Suzaku continent. There were only 4 cultivation countries on this continent. The other 3 were all rank 5 cultivation countries, and they were the 3 most powerful rank 5 cultivation countries. The 3 countries were Green Dragon, Thousand Fantasy, and Pilu. In the middle of the continent and taking up of the continent was where the country of Suzaku was located. Even mortals of Suzaku were higher ranked than regular mortals because they were people of Suzaku. There were a total of 3 sects in the country of Suzaku. They were the Heavenly Jade sect, the Earth Soul sect, and the Immortals Path sect. Each of the sects had 1 ascendant cultivator. Combined with the late-stage ascendant cultivator at Mount Suzaku, who held the title of Suzaku, they were the main force of planet Suzaku. There were countless cultivation families under the 3 sections. They relied on the 3 sects for support and became a network that sent large amounts of disciples to the 3 sects. A beam suddenly fell from the sky onto an altar in Suzaku, causing waves of spiritual energy to spread out. Red Butterfly was sitting on a lotus leaf in the back mountain of the Heavenly Jade sect. She suddenly opened her eyes and looked toward the beam that had fallen from the sky. Red Butterfly's eyes became cold and she whispered, "He came." Wang Lin slowly appeared on the altar and Feng Yushan appeared after that. Feng Yushan let out a sigh of relief. Since Zhang Niu had come, he could go report it to Mount Suzaku. There was one more person on the altar beside Wang Lin and Feng Yushan. This person was wearing a purple dress with a picture of a purple butterfly on a lily. She was wearing a blue veil that was clear and transparent like magic. Her eyes gave people a feeling of elegance, her nose was straight, and she had small red lips. She quietly stood there with her gaze on Wang Lin. After Feng Yushan saw the woman, he quickly and respectfully said, "Greetings, third elder apprentice sister." The woman gently nodded her pretty little head and asked, "Is this fellow cultivator Zheng Niu?" Wang Lin looked at the woman. He wasn't affected by how beautiful she was. He clasped his hands and said, "I am Zheng Niu. Fellow cultivator Zheng. This little girl is a disciple of the Immortals Path sect. My surname is White and my name is Snow." The woman smiled. Her skin was as white as snow and 2 strands of her 3 feet long black hair were draped over her chest. The remainder of her hair was coiled into a bun on the top of her head. "Teacher ordered me to wait for you here, and then bring you to him." Wang Lin's expression remained calm. He looked at the woman and asked, "Immortals Path sect?" White Snow nodded and said, "Mount Suzaku has set the date for the battle between fellow cultivator Zheng and Red Butterfly. It will take place half a month from now. At that time, many messengers of the other cultivation countries will come to watch. Until then, my Immortals Path sect is in charge of housing fellow cultivator." Wang Lin pondered a bit and then nodded. White Snow faintly smiled and jumped off the altar. A ray of white light flew over and held White Snow in the air. It was a pure white crane. After Wang Lin landed on the white crane, it let out a cry, flapped its wings, and flew into the distance. Sun Yushan looked enviously at the white crane before jumping off the altar and flying toward Mount Suzaku. White Snow would occasionally look at Wang Lin. Throughout these past several years, Song Nyo's name had been very big. After seeing Wang Lin, she couldn't help but be disappointed. She was sure that this Song Nyo would have peerless talent, but looking at him now, he looked extremely normal. After a long pause between the two, White Snow softly asked, "Fellow cultivator Tseng, how certain are you in the fight against Red Butterfly?" Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from looking at the country of Suzaku and shook his head. "Not certain at all." White Snow was stunned, but she smiled. "Fellow cultivator Tseng doesn't have to be modest." Wang Lin didn't bother with the woman and carefully looked what was below him. He carefully remembered the layout of the area. His map jade only had a very vague description of Suzaku. Although Wang Lin secretly thought that Suzaku was trying to recruit him as a core disciple, he was still on guard. Wang Lin pondered a bit and asked, "Fellow cultivator White Snow, what sects are in Suzaku?" White Snow's voice was very alluring. After her explanation, Wang Lin had a rough understanding of Suzaku. Junior apprentice Sister Red Butterfly is a disciple of the Heavenly Jade sect. With that, White Snow let out a sigh and looked toward Sung Nyo. From what she heard from her teacher, it sounded like after the battle Mount Suzaku wanted this person to join her sect. Wang Lin's eyes were calm and he didn't speak. The speed of the white crane wasn't fast, but the ride was very smooth. As it passed by various mountains, Wang Lin secretly remembered them all. Suzaku was filled with spiritual energy. It was an aspect which other countries couldn't compare with at all. Along the way, Wang Lin had already passed by 10 spirit veins. It was because of these spirit veins that there was so much spiritual energy inside of Suzaku. While flying, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly became serious as he looked into the distance. In the distance was a mountain that went into the clouds. It looked like a celestial mountain. The white crane didn't fly toward the mountain and instead went around it. Although his expression was calm, his heart was shocked. White Snow whispered, "That is where the Heavenly Jade sect is located. Because of the formation, you can't see it." Just at this moment, a red figure descended from the mountain and stood on a white cloud. That person was looking over at their direction. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he stared at the red figure, but he remained silent. The red figure slowly disappeared as the white crane flew away. Red Butterfly stood outside the Heavenly Jade sect as she looked at Wang Lin slowly disappearing. Her eyes became even colder as wind blew by and caused her empty sleeve to flutter. He indeed came. Red Butterfly turned around and disappeared back into the Heavenly Jade sect. Wang Lin stood upon the white crane and coldly looked at White Snow. This woman had especially picked this route. She must have had her own agenda. Not long after, the white crane flew into a mountain that looked like a very long dragon. The crane flew through layers of clouds and into the depths of the mountain. Wang Lin stepped off the crane. After landing, White Snow whispered, "Fellow cultivator Tseng, this is not the Immortal's Path sect, but my teacher's personal immortal cave. Teacher is currently cultivating. Pick any of the rooms from the northern 3 rows. Teacher will meet you once he is ready." With that, she clasped her hands at Wang Lin and disappeared among the houses. Wang Lin knew that he couldn't carelessly spread out his divine sense inside Suzaku or else he would attract a lot of trouble. He followed White Snow's words and walked toward the northern buildings. Along the way, he encountered many servants. All of them had numb expressions. None of them even looked at Wang Lin as they quickly passed by. Not long after, Wang Lin arrived at the northern end and saw the 3 rows of extravagant rooms and picked one. The rooms had everything already prepared for him. Wang Lin sat down in the room and began to ponder. Ever since he entered Suzaku, he had this feeling of danger. Although it was very faint, it still existed. Wang Lin knew that with just his cultivation, there were many people in Suzaku who could kill him. Any soul transformation cultivator could kill him. Suzaku's attitude toward him was very weird to him. It was strange that someone was sent to receive him. It seemed that White Snow's teacher would greet him soon. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin closed his eyes and began to cultivate. At dusk, the room was very dim because there was no light inside. As time passed, it became even darker. In the dark, Wang Lin suddenly felt a sense of loneliness. He looked around at the foreign room inside this foreign sect and in this foreign country. He couldn't find any sense of belonging. Wang Lin let out a sigh and was just about to light a candle when he suddenly looked up at the door and knocking began to echo in the room. "Knock, knock, knock," Wang Lin said. "Come in." Without any sound, the door opened and a boy wearing black entered the room. He was carrying a tray of fruits in his hands. After entering, he didn't even look at Wang Lin as he placed down the tray and then turned to leave. Wang Lin said, "Wait a moment." The boy stopped, turned around and looked at Wang Lin. Although the room was dim, he could still clearly make out what the boy looked like. The boy was very young, only about 13 or 14 years old. Without waiting for Wang Lin to ask, the boy opened his mouth and pointed at it. Inside his mouth he only had half of his tongue. Wang Lin was stunned and didn't speak. The boy gently smiled at Wang Lin before turning around and leaving, gently closing the door on his way out. For some reason, Wang Lin had a creepy feeling about this immortal cave. Looking at the fruits on the tray, he pondered for a bit and before going back to cultivating. His right hand was still on his bag of holding, so he would have time to resist in case any danger showed up. Time passed by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, only the boy ever came to his room. On the morning of the second day, he went outside but found that all of the servants were missing half of their tongues, making them unable to speak. In addition to this, most of the area was covered by powerful restrictions which sealed them from going too far. Wang Lin wouldn't be able to break any of them in a short period of time. There was something strange about this place. Wang Lin pondered for a bit until he just gave up on thinking about this. He focused on cultivating to keep himself at the best condition for the fight against Red Butterfly. 10 days passed without any distractions. On this day, while he was cultivating, he suddenly opened his eyes and saw a middle-aged man sitting before him. The middle-aged man poured a cup of tea and looked at Wang Lin. This person was good-looking but not extremely handsome. He didn't have a beard but there was stubble on his face. His eyes were bright but seemed to be somewhat covered in mist. Although he didn't speak, he emitted a sense of majesty. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. He wasn't surprised by the fact that this person was able to enter without him knowing. There were many people with cultivation levels higher than Wang Lin's here. He wasn't a boy who had just starting cultivating, so he wouldn't easily be shocked. The middle-aged man took a sip of tea and gently tapped the table with his finger. He didn't say a word. Wang Lin also pondered and didn't speak. The room was completely silent. This was a very scary kind of silence. A sense of pressure began to build with each tap of the middle-aged man's finger. If Wang Lin hadn't reached the soul formation stage, he wouldn't have been able to withstand this. Even if he were still at the early stage of soul formation like he was before he entered the celestial realm, he would have had trouble. However, Wang Lin was very calm right now. After a very long time, the middle-aged man stood up and, without even looking at Wang Lin, left the room. He hadn't said a single word the entire time. After he left, Wang Lin stood up and walked over to where the middle-aged man previously was. There was some tea spilled on the table in the shape of 2 words. "Lose die." Wang Lin pondered a bit. He wiped the table with his hand and the words disappeared. He looked at the darkness outside the window and his eyes lit up. The middle-aged man must have been at least at the soul transformation stage. He was probably White Snow's master. The 2 words left by this person were very clear. If he loses the battle against Red Butterfly, the only road that would be left for him was death. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He then closed his eyes and began to cultivate. A few days later, the day of the big battle arrived. It was very lively around the giant altar in Suzaku. All of the cultivators that had arrived were eagerly awaiting this big battle. Suzaku had announced this battle between Wang Lin and Red Butterfly 10 years ago. This battle caught the eyes of a lot of cultivators. Although the 2 people battling were only at the soul formation stage, there was a huge difference in their social statuses. Red Butterfly was the genius of Shuiyu, and was the #1 genius in Suzaku. She was able to reach the late stage of soul formation in only 100 years and was the #1 candidate to reach the ascendant stage. Song Nyo was of unknown origin but was able to obtain a rain cauldron. Then he took an arm from Red Butterfly and instantly became famous. If that was just the case, it wouldn't have attracted so much attention, but this Song Nyo was only at the early stage of soul formation when he entered the celestial realm. He was able to fight against the late-stage soul formation cultivator when he was at the early stage and even took an arm from her. As a result, he became a legend. Now it was the second battle between the two, which attracted the attention of everyone. Red Butterfly was standing on the right side of the altar. She was wearing a blue court dress with a dark purple flower embroidered on the edge of the dress. It was very simple and clean. Her hair flowed down like a waterfall with only a ribbon tying it together. However, the gentle breeze that would cause her empty sleeve to flutter put a blemish on the almost painting-like Red Butterfly. Red Butterfly's beauty was like her talent. It was filled with arrogance and ruthlessness. Around the perimeter of the altar were rings of white light with chairs placed on them. There were already many people sitting there. Men and women, young and old. All of them were various messengers of different cultivation countries. Although there weren't 100 people, it was very close. Although there were almost 100 people, there wasn't any noise. These people sat on the outer ring. On the inner ring there were only 4 chairs, and there were 4 people sitting on them. These 4 people were all white-haired old men. At this moment, a white crane came from the distance. On the back of the crane stood a young man wearing white. He was standing up straight, his hair was tied with a purple ribbon, and although he looked average, he gave off a manly aura. Beside him stood a woman in purple. Her looks weren't at all inferior to Red Butterfly's. The crane arrived at the altar and let out a cry. The white-robed young man jumped off and landed on the altar. He was Wang Lin. Red Butterfly lowered her head to look at her empty sleeve before raising her head. Her eyes became cold. There was also a deep sense of hatred hidden in her eyes. As the Heaven's chosen daughter, until she met Wang Lin, she had never lost. Not only was Wang Lin the first person to ever defeat her, he even took one of her arms. If Wang Lin had beaten her in a straight-up fight, although she would hate him, her hatred would not be this strong. But back then Wang Lin acted when she was at her weakest and tried to destroy her Dao heart. In all these years, her cultivation level hadn't moved. This was all because of Wang Lin. Only by killing him could her Dao heart recover. Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he calmly looked at Red Butterfly. One of the old men sitting in the inner 4 chairs coldly looked at Wang Lin and Red Butterfly and said, "I'm the elder of Mount Suzaku Gong Suimpa, and I'll be the judge for this fight." His right hand formed a seal and then pointed forth. A door of light suddenly appeared on the altar before them. "Go inside. That is where your battlefield will be." The old man closed his eyes and no longer spoke. Without a word, Red Butterfly walked into the door of light and disappeared. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he carefully looked at the door of light and walked inside. After the both of them entered the door of light, it immediately expanded to cover the entire altar. Inside the door was a deserted mountain range. People could see what was going on through the door of light. After Wang Lin entered the door of light, he was able to detect that this door of light was a transfer array. Where he appeared was a deserted mountain range. The surroundings were completely quiet and there was no light coming from the sky. An aura that would make you feel irritated filled the air. Giant and ancient oak trees grew everywhere. 10 feet away, a giant red python was coldly staring at Wang Lin and sticking its tongue out. A shout came from the sky. "Sang Niu!" Wang Lin flew into the sky to see a ray of red light charging toward him. Before she even arrived, a cold aura had already spread out. This cold aura condensed into small ice particles that gathered 100 feet away from Wang Lin into a giant ice sculpture. This giant ice sculpture was over 100 feet tall and was shaped like a person. Its face was expressionless as it swung its giant fist at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he backed away. A flash of red light appeared on the head of the ice sculpture and Red Butterfly appeared. Her eyes were cold as she stared at Wang Lin and whispered something. A bright light appeared and turned into a ice rose before her. She made up her mind to not have a long fight with Sang Niu. She would use the quickest method to kill this person. As the ice giant swung out its fist, Red Butterfly plucked a rose petal and sent it forth. The petal swayed back and forth like a boat on the rocky sea. Wang Lin snorted. He waved his right hand and the restriction flag appeared in his grasp. Restriction gas came out in the shape of dragons. They intertwined and fused into a giant fist that met the fist of the ice giant. Bang! The shock wave caused many of the trees below them to fall over. Even the python was knocked onto the ground. It was squirming due to the many wounds on its body. All of the wounds were caused by the vibrations of the shock wave. The huge impact caused the ice giant to take a step back. Cracks had appeared on his fist and pieces of ice were flying everywhere. Wang Lin's hand shook. The fist formed by the restriction shattered, and as the vibrations reached the restriction flag, it caused cracks to appear on it. This is a treasure that my country of Shuayu has been refining for 500 years. Ice God. Sungyo, you will die for sure. Red Butterfly's eyes became even colder as her hand moved and the floating rose petals suddenly began to change. Thin lines flew off the petal and formed a giant net that flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he waved the restriction flag, causing a screen of black fog to appear. Then he took out the celestial sword and swung at the net. The sword energy went through the black fog and landed on the flower petal. Bang! Cracks immediately appeared on the petal, but it didn't shatter. Countless threads from the flower petal covered the sky as it arrived before Wang Lin. Red Butterfly's eyes became even colder as she plucked another flower petal. She threw it forward and formed a seal with left hand as it flew. Then she pointed at the petal, and it immediately grew many times larger. It was still heading toward Wang Lin. Red Butterfly didn't stop but plucked another flower petal. She bit her tongue and spat out some blood. The blood fell on the petal and 9 sword symbols made of blood appeared on the petal. 9 rays of sword energy appeared and shot toward Wang Lin. 3 flower petals. Sungyo, I want to see if you die or not. Red Butterfly slapped the ice giant under her. The ice giant let out a roar and swung its fist right behind the 9 rays of sword energy. For every step it took, there would be a giant hole left on the ground. Countless trees fell over and the vibrations caused many cracks to appear on the ground. This could be considered one of the most dangerous battles in Wang Lin's life. He didn't want to use the war chariot unless he had to. After all, this was Suzaku. There was bound to be many people watching. Exposing too many of his secrets wouldn't be good for him. Facing the net coming at him, Wang Lin let out a roar and swung the celestial sword like crazy, forcibly creating an opening in the net. Wang Lin quickly charged out from opening and opened his mouth to spit out a black ray of light. It quickly changed into a giant black stamp that slammed into the giant petal. The black stamp trembled before it was wrapped by the petal and turned into a puddle of black water. Wang Lin's face was pale. He used the moment the black stamp stopped the petal to teleport away. Just at this moment, the 9 rays of sword energy silently arrived. They moved as fast as lightning. Wang Lin quickly touched his bag of holding and 2 bells appeared. They collided with the sword energy, creating a sound wave. The 9 rays of sword energy paused for a moment under the effect of the sound wave, but then continued toward Wang Lin. With that pause, the 2 bells shattered and the pieces formed a suit of armor around Wang Lin. He let out a roar and teleported again. This time he was charging toward Red Butterfly. However, just when he reappeared, the ice giant's fist arrived before him. This punch was much faster than the one before. It landed on Wang Lin's body in almost an instant. Wang Lin's body was sent flying. The 9 rays of sword energy stabbed into his body as he flew through the air. Then the giant flower petal quickly wrapped around him, leaving no opening. Killing intent filled Red Butterfly's eyes and she shouted, "Tungnyo, accept your death." Her left hand formed a seal and pointed at the petal. Soon, sounds of explosions came from within the petal. However, just at this moment, a ray of black energy leaked out from the flower petal. Red Butterfly's expression changed when a huge ray of black sword energy that felt like it could destroy the world came out from within the petal. The petal was split in half and Wang Lin slowly walked out. The ribbon that was tying his hair had broken. His hair flowed in the air without any wind and his eyes were filled with intense coldness. He looked at Red Butterfly like he was looking at a dead person. There were many cracks on his armor, and behind him the 9 rays of sword energy all shattered. Wang Lin's voice was low as he slowly said, "Red Butterfly, the battle has just started. What happened just now was only a warm-up." Red Butterfly stared at Wang Lin and pointed at the rose with 6 remaining petals. She was about to use a spell. "Red Butterfly, look at this." Wang Lin revealed an evil smile as he took out a cocoon-like stone that had many Dao symbols on it. Wang Lin's right hand hit it and the symbols on it began to glow. Red Butterfly's face became pale as a small amount of black gas emerged from her forehead. She shouted, Donghua, what is that? It's just an arm. Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he hit the stone. Pieces of rocks fell off, revealing a dark and withered arm. Holding the arm in his hand, he let out an evil smile. Red Butterfly, is this arm familiar to you? Red Butterfly's body trembled as she stared at the arm. She then suddenly turned toward Wang Lin. The coldness in her eyes had reached its limit. Donghua, you villain. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he laughed out loud. Then his eyes suddenly darkened and said, I'm a villain? Back in the celestial realm, there was no hatred between us. I had never messed with you, yet you tried to kill me multiple times. Even now, I still don't know why you wanted to kill me. Why can't I resist if you tried to kill me? Red Butterfly's face was gloomy. Without any hesitation, she pointed at the rose and all 6 petals scattered. Wang Lin let out a snort. Without any hesitation, he slapped his bag of holding and a black flag appeared in his hand. This was the flag that was only missing one restriction to summon divine retribution lightning. His left hand moved before him. A restriction appeared and he placed it on the flag. The restriction shook and a blinding light shined from the flag. Red Butterfly's expression changed. Her hand quickly formed seals and she chanted a very complex spell. The 6 petals quickly flew out and turned into 6 women wearing red. However, a powerful force was being released from the restriction flag. This force pushed everything away. Wang Lin allowed himself to be pushed away and let the restriction flag float in the sky. As for the 6 petals that had turned into 6 women, they were also stopped in their tracks. They were unable to go forward. At this moment, rumbling sounds suddenly came from the sky. Red clouds covered the sky like the heavens were going to collapse. Everyone watching the fight from outside was shocked. The 4 old men sitting in the inner circle all suddenly opened their eyes. Their gazes were locked onto the red clouds. Divine retribution. Gong Suimpa's eyes lit up. 6 returned to 1. Red Butterfly's expression changed as she quickly formed seals with her hand. The 6 women in red quickly fused with Red Butterfly. Behind her, 6 beautiful red figures appeared. Red clouds covered the sky. Wang Lin sneered as he pointed at the restriction flag. The restriction flag quickly turned into waves of restrictions that shot toward Red Butterfly. Just at this moment, with a huge bang, all of the red clouds gathered and an array of red lightning descended. Its target was exactly where the restrictions were at. Red Butterfly quickly backed up, but Wang Lin had been keeping an eye on her. The moment she moved, he waved the celestial sword and an array of sword energy shot out at her. However, this sword energy wasn't for Red Butterfly. It collided with the descending red lightning. Bang! With a loud bang, the sword energy collapsed. The red lightning paused for a moment before it continued to descend. Using this pause, Wang Lin shouted, "Restriction flag scatter." The restriction flag suddenly shook as more restriction gas poured out of it. This continued until the restriction flag turned to dust and disappeared. However, the restriction gas that came out arrived before Red Butterfly in almost an instant and hovered around her. Much of the gas had already entered the ice giant's body as well. Although the gas couldn't do any damage, it could act as a beacon for the divine retribution lightning. The giant quickly stomped the ground. Every time it stomped, a lot of restriction gas would dissipate. But there was simply so much gas that it kept on entering the giant's body. Red Butterfly was about to teleport when her expression suddenly became ugly. The moment divine retribution arrives, all teleports are sealed. Red Butterfly, accept your death. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. At this moment, the red lightning arrived. The moment the restriction gas touched the lightning, it dissipated. The red lightning descended upon Red Butterfly, who was surrounded by restriction gas. Although all of this took a while to explain, it happened in the blink of an eye. Red Butterfly's face was pale and she clenched her teeth. The moment the red lightning arrived, the 6 figures behind her flew out. Explode! One of the red figures exploded the moment it touched the red lightning, but it was unable to stop the divine retribution lightning. Red Butterfly's voice cracked. Explode! Explode! Bang! 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 The divine retribution lightning pierced through them like they were paper. One figure collapsed, another figure collapsed, and soon all 6 figures had collapsed. However, the power of the red lightning lowered a bit in these series of explosions. Without a word, Red Butterfly sank into the ice giant. The moment she disappeared into it, the red lightning struck the ice giant. The giant suddenly raised its head and let out a painful roar as many cracks appeared on its body. There was a red line moving within the ice giant. It wasn't attacking the ice giant, but moving to the remaining restriction gas in its body. In addition, there was the ghostly image of a whip that would glow. Every time it glowed, the power of the red lighting would weaken a bit. A pity. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he swung the celestial sword at the giant. He let out a roar as he directed a large ray of sword energy toward the ice giant. The giant opened its mouth and shouted. However, the voice belonged to Red Butterfly. Soul Lasher. Just at this moment, the whip inside the ice giant glowed brightly, flew out from the chest of the giant, and struck Wang Lin. Fast. Too fast. Wang Lin wasn't able to dodge at all. He coughed out blood and his body fell. However, his origin soul was knocked out of his body and flew far away. At this moment, the sword energy landed on the ice giant and its aura weakened a lot. A wound as thick as an arm went through its body. That whip was simply too fast. Wang Lin didn't have any time to react when his origin soul was whipped out of his body. As his soul flew backwards, he was shocked and then pain started coming from all over his origin soul. This pain was like his heart was being pierced. This pain meant that his origin soul was about to be damaged. He didn't hesitate at all to use spiritual energy to stop himself. With one teleport, he went back into his body. Wang Lin opened eyes and quickly backed up. There was shock in his eyes. The attack from the giant just now was simply too strange. What kind of whip is that? Wang Lin's eyes sparkled as he stared at the ice giant. Luckily, Wang Lin's sword energy had landed on the giant, and the divine retribution lightning was still inside the ice giant. Due to these two factors, the ice giant wasn't able to attack Wang Lin while his origin soul was knocked out of his body. The situation would have turned very ugly for Wang Lin otherwise. Just as the sword energy landed on the ice giant's waist, the divine retribution lightning destroyed the last of the restriction gas and suddenly disappeared. The red clouds left as quickly as they arrived and the sky returned to normal as if the red clouds had never appeared. The ice giant shook its body. Pieces of ice fell off it and landed on the ground. The giant was now only half of its original size at 50 feet. The wound on its waist quickly closed and soon disappeared. However, the image of the whip was still at its chest, releasing a demonic light. Without a word, Wang Lin turned around and escaped. That whip was simply too dangerous. If his origin soul were to get knocked away again and his body got destroyed, then even if he won, he will still have lost. Red Butterfly appeared once more on the head of the ice giant and shouted, "Tung Niu, I want to see what you can still do." The ice giant that was now only half of its original size became more nimble than before. It got up from the ground, causing the earth to shake, and chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin continued to run. Luckily, the battleground was very large and he hadn't reached the boundary yet. He quickly took out a pill and consumed it to adjust his body as he flew. As for the ice giant behind him, he completely ignored it. Red Butterfly's expression was as cold as ice. She hated the person before her down to her bones. If it wasn't for the ice giant, she would have been killed the red lightning. This Zhang Niu had a treasure to call down divine retribution lightning. However, I don't believe he has two of them, or else he could have just used both right away. Even with the Soul Lasher, the ice giant won't be able to withstand two divine retribution lightning strikes. Red Butterfly's eyes were gloomy. She gave a command and the whip suddenly appeared in the ice giant's hand. Red Butterfly shouted, "Tung Niu, accept your death." The giant swung the whip in his hand. It moved even faster than lightning toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression changed. Although the whip speed was quick, he had been on guard this whole time. As the whip was coming toward him, he disappeared with a teleport. He reappeared 1,000 feet away and coughed out blood. When he was teleporting away, the whip touched him. Although it didn't knock his origin soul out, it injured him. What an amazing whip treasure! Wang Lin took a deep breath and continued to escape. He took out a large amount of pills and devoured them to recover as much spiritual energy as possible. Red Butterfly's eyes were cold as she controlled the ice giant to chase Wang Lin in a mad pursuit. As Red Butterfly chased Wang Lin, she insulted him. "Zhang Niu, you are now running away like a homeless dog. Where is your dominating aura from back then?" Wang Lin laughed and said, "Red Butterfly, you haven't resolved the curse from that arm yet. You're only suppressing it with your spiritual energy. This is true reason you used your most powerful treasure right at the start." Red Butterfly's expression became gloomy and she snorted. Every single time they met, she had never been able to beat Wang Lin in words, so she no longer spoke. She controlled the giant and whipped the air before them multiple times. After a while, Wang Lin recovered a bit of spiritual energy. His eyes lit up as he took out an item. It was Red Butterfly's arm. He chanted while his left hand formed seals and pointed at the arm. The arm glowed a demonic light as various symbols appeared on it. Wang Lin's left hand slapped the arm and he shouted, "Explode!" A black line immediately appeared on Red Butterfly's forehead. Her body trembled and her face became pale. She shouted, "Tung Nyo, if I don't kill you, then I'm not called Red Butterfly." Wang Lin sneered and shouted, "Suppress it. I want to see how long you can suppress it. Explode! Explode! Explode!" The black line on Red Butterfly's forehead suddenly began to spread and soon covered Red Butterfly's beautiful face. "You!" Red Butterfly coughed out black blood. She was indeed worried about the curse on her arm, which was why she wanted to end this battle as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. The battle went outside of her control. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he once more shouted, "Explode!" The arm in his hand immediately exploded. There was no longer any blood left inside, so it exploded into a cloud of black dust which spread out in all directions. The explosion of the arm activated all of the curses inside Red Butterfly's body. She coughed out another mouthful of black blood and a dark aura covered her face. Wang Lin's body immediately stopped. He no longer ran. He used this moment to throw out the beast trap and with a bang, the war chariot arrived. The beast spirit immediately came out with a roar. Its bloodshot eyes stared at Wang Lin and the giant. The current Wang Lin couldn't worry about exposing too much. The most important matter right now was winning. After the chariot appeared, it would take time to activate. Wang Lin held the celestial sword in his hand and swung down. The sword energy created a sonic boom as it flew out and smashed into the ice giant. Bang! The ice giant stumbled back several steps as a wound appeared on its body. Red Butterfly's eyes were closed. She was concentrating all her attention to suppress the curse. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He went up and swung down again. Bang! After the bang, the ice giant backed up even more. Red Butterfly struggled to open her eyes and stared viciously at Wang Lin before spitting out a word. The ice giant's eyes released a demonic light. Red Butterfly had given up on controlling the ice giant and was using all her power to suppress the curse. The giant's body began to move. It swung its fist and the image of the whip immediately appeared. Wang Lin didn't hesitate at all, and the used celestial sword to block. With a bang, Wang Lin was pushed back more than 100 feet. Although the celestial sword wasn't damaged, Wang Lin coughed out blood from the force of the blow. Just at this moment, the ice giant landed before Wang Lin with one leap. It swung its fist down and inside the fist was the image of the whip. Wang Lin's expression was serious as he quickly threw the celestial sword toward the fist. The moment the fist hit Wang Lin, the sword flashed by the right arm and cut the entire arm off. The celestial sword itself was very different from the sword energy. The celestial sword landed 1,000 feet away and stabbed deep into the ground. Blood sprayed out from all over Wang Lin's body and many of his bones were broken. However, he laughed and said, "Red Butterfly, I took one of your arms and now I took one of this useless ice giant's arms. It is now more fitting for you." He waved his hand and the ice giant's right arm appeared in his hand. A flash of blue light appeared and the ice immediately fell from the arm until it shrank to half its size. Right now the many spikes on the war chariot released a black aura that was being absorbed by the spirit beast. The spirit beast grew larger and its eyes revealed a vicious gaze. The ice giant let out a roar and rushed toward its broken arm. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and he spat out a ray of white light that surrounded the arm. He was now using all of his energy to refine it. More cracks appeared on the arm and it shrank again. The giant's speed was very quick. It arrived with one jump and then it swung its left arm. Bang! Wang Lin backed up and then disappeared. Cracks immediately appeared on the ground where Wang Lin was just standing. When Wang Lin reappeared, he was next to the celestial sword and grabbed it. Wang Lin shouted again. Break! The arm coated in white light cracked again and a large amount of ice fell off. Right now, this arm was the same size as a normal person's arm. The giant suddenly turned around and swung out another punch that was as fast as lightning. Wang Lin raised the celestial sword and swung down. Just at this moment, the whip suddenly appeared on the ice giant's chest. Wang Lin's expression changed and he moved the celestial sword to block before him. However, the whip changed directions. It went around Wang Lin and hit his body. Bang! Wang Lin coughed out blood and his body was knocked back 100 feet. His origin soul was once again whipped out of his body and flew out 1,000 feet. The ice giant's eyes released a ghostly light. It ignored Wang Lin's original soul and instead walked toward Wang Lin's body. War Chariot activate. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. During the time he managed to delay the ice giant, the god-slaying chariot managed to activate. The beast spirit let out a roar and charged out. All of the chains on the beast spirit were gone. However, instead of charging at the ice giant, it charged toward Wang Lin. Disobedient beast. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His hand formed a seal and a chain flew out from the chariot. The chain locked the beast spirit in place. The beast spirit beast struggled vigorously and didn't change its direction. It clearly wanted to use whatever it took to devour Wang Lin. At this moment, the giant arrived next to Wang Lin's body and smiled as it smashed its fist down. Wang Lin's origin soul shouted, Su Ligua. The celestial sword let out a miserable scream as black gas appeared on the sword, and it blocked the fist. Bang! The giant's fist hit the celestial sword and was pushed back by the shockwave. However, Su Ligua let out a weak cry before the celestial sword fell to the ground. No more sounds came from it. The giant's eyes lit up as it ran up again. Just at this moment, even more chains flew out of the war chariot and dragged the beast spirit back. The beast spirit was filled with rage as it turned toward the ice giant and charged toward it. The giant immediately raised its head. It stopped its attack on Wang Lin's body and punched the incoming beast spirit. Bang! 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 The giant continued to attack and knocked the beast spirit away. This angered the beast spirit. Its mouth expanded greatly and devoured the ice giant. However, the moment it tried to devour the ice giant, the whip came out and hit the beast spirit. The beast spirit felt pain and immediately shrank a bit. Pa! Pa! The continuous whipping caused the beast spirit to be furious, but it ignored the whip to continue to devour. The beast spirit went through the ice giant's body. The giant's body shook and a large amount of cracks appeared on it. More ice fell off and the ice giant shrank once more. It was now only 20 feet tall and the ice around its right shoulder began to melt. The beast spirit was about to turn around for another attack when Red Butterfly opened her eyes. The curse was suppressed back to the single black line on her forehead. Red Butterfly's rushed voice contained a hint of darkness as she said, Soul Lasher, reveal your true form. This time a pure white whip appeared in the ice giant's hand. This whip isn't illusionary like before but solid. It whipped the beast spirit like crazy. The pain caused the beast spirit to become even more enraged. It was about to charge out again when it suddenly let out a painful cry and looked back at the war chariot. After all, he was only a spirit and was limited by the chariot. Also, Wang Lin was not using it properly for it to display its full power, so now it was feeling the call of the chariot. The beast spirit let out a reluctant roar into the sky as it changed into gas and returned to the war chariot. Wang Lin's origin soul had returned to his body during the fight between the beast spirit and the ice giant. He had also consumed pills to recover and sent spiritual energy into the celestial sword to awaken Su Ligua. With the celestial sword in his hand, he swung down. Wang Lin's sword energy quickly arrived. The ice giant let out a roar and punched the sword energy. It turned around, kicked the ground, causing the ground to crack, and quickly escaped. Chase! Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he raised his sword and chased after her. Red Butterfly's face was gloomy. The battle today was much harder than their battle back in the celestial realm. She never would have even dreamt that this Tsang Nyo would have gained this much power in a mere decade. Thinking back to the celestial realm, when she used her full power to kill this person, Tsang Nyo could only run and had no power to resist. Even later on, it was only because he had a treasure that could collapse a celestial fragment that she was suppressed. She never saw Wang Lin as anything. In her heart, this Zhang was not someone at the same level as her. He was weak. An insect, a stepping stone that would obey the strong. She had killed many soul formation cultivators like Wang Lin during her battle against the Four-Sect Alliance. Even in Suzaku, she kept this mentality. This was her pride. However, this pride crumbled when Wang Lin took her arm. She couldn't stand the fact that a weak and insignificant cultivator dared to sneak attack her. Her hatred for Wang Lin had reached its limit. She resolved herself to kill Wang Lin in order to make her Dao heart complete again. She even took out Shuiyu's national treasure, the ice god, to kill this person. Even her senior apprentice brother secretly borrowed the heavenly jade sect's main treasure, the soul lasher, and let her borrow it to get on her good side. She originally didn't want to use the soul lasher. She thought that with the ice god and her life treasure, killing Zhang would be as easy as taking candy from a baby. However, she had heard a lot of rumors about the soul lasher and was moved by them, so she didn't reject the offer. She hid it inside the ice god to use it as a secret weapon to win. But right now, after so many rounds, their battle had reached its boiling point. This Zhang treasures were endless, far more than she could have imagined. Especially that beast spirit, it was too fierce. If Zhang had the power to control it and the beast spirit continued to attack, she was sure that without the soul lasher, she would have lost. Right now she could only escape. The ice god was extremely weak. From all the damage it took, it was now only 20 feet tall. If it shrank anymore, it would collapse completely. She had only experienced this kind of escape twice in her entire life. The first time was when she was forced into a corner by Wang Lin, and the second time was right now. To be forced to escape like this twice by the same person was like a slap in the face for her. This made her feel very ashamed and her hatred deepened. Wang Lin chased closely after her with a gloomy expression on his face. He looked at the figure constantly teleporting before him and said, "Red Butterfly, where is your pride? Does the heavenly daughter of Suzaku have to run from me, a mere mid-stage soul formation cultivator? Zhang, if I don't kill you, I'm not called Red Butterfly." Avatars. Even though Wang Lin was taunting her, her pride made it so that she had to fight him. A change suddenly occurred. She let out a scream and the rose appeared before the ice giant. There were no flower petals, only 2 stamens. Red Butterfly didn't hesitate as her origin soul flew out and split in half. One half went into the stamens. The 2 stamens fused together to form a very beautiful figure. The figure quickly took form and revealed its appearance. An avatar that looked exactly like Red Butterfly appeared. Only this avatar had all of her limbs. Red Butterfly's avatar opened her eyes and looked very calm. The original Red Butterfly was very cold and ruthless, but this avatar showed no emotion and was extremely calm. "Zhang, I don't mind giving up my chance to reach the soul transformation stage anytime soon just to kill you." This avatar was something she had been cultivating to make it easier for her to reach the soul transformation stage. Unless it was absolutely needed, she wouldn't bring the avatar out. But now, in order to kill Wang Lin, she didn't care about the cost. This avatar had no spiritual energy inside even though it contained some of her origin soul. This avatar was filled with her domain. She had been pouring her domain into the avatar for a while. Red Butterfly and her avatar both said at the same time, "Ruthless domain." The avatar quickly flew forward and emitted a rainbow-colored light. Red Butterfly's avatar said in a very alluring voice, "To lure out all the emotions of the mortal world and then using the blade of intelligence to cut it all away. This is the ruthless domain. Emotions come forth." The color of the sky suddenly changed and a mysterious power covered the heavens and earth. 7 rainbow-colored orbs suddenly appeared next to Red Butterfly, and then flew toward Wang Lin. Familial love. 2 balls of light shattered to form a man and woman. The man had trimmed white hair and the woman had a loving gaze. Love. Li Muan's figure appeared in the orb. She stared at Wang Lin with eyes filled with sadness. Hatred. Donghua teared open the orb of light and walked out. There were countless souls in his hand. The souls of the Wang family cried out in anguish. Appreciation. Zhang 3 generations walked out and stared at Wang Lin in confusion. He opened his mouth to talk but couldn't say a word. Wang Lin's body stopped moving and he sat cross-legged. His origin soul flew out and said, Under the reincarnation cycle life and death domain. The sky was suddenly torn open by a pair of giant hands and a rift appeared. A giant black and white painting came out of the rift. There were many large mountains and flowing rivers inside the scroll. Although they looked still, they were in fact moving. Under the life and death scroll, Wang Lin's origin soul was glowing. He revealed a complex expression as he looked at the people before him. Red Butterfly's avatar said, "Sword of Intelligence." A rainbow-colored sword appeared before Red Butterfly's avatar. Cut. Wang Lin's parents were killed by the sword. They were soon followed by Li Muwen. Donghua's family was killed by Donghua, and then he disappeared after a swing of the sword. Ruthless. Red Butterfly and her avatar looked very worn out. She then pointed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's origin soul shook and his eyes became dim. His right hand raised up and pointed at the life and death scroll in the sky. Wang Lin softly said, "Even a ruthless person can't escape the reincarnation cycle. How could the emotions in the world be so easily cut or discarded? Although the Sword of Intelligence is powerful, it can't cut through the cycle of reincarnation." Black and white gas appeared and fused together to make the gray gas of the reincarnation cycle. The gray gas suddenly came out of the scroll in the shape of a giant thumb and pressed down before Red Butterfly's avatar. Red Butterfly's avatar's body trembled. She shook her head, bitterly smiled and said, "If I could have reached the soul transformation stage, even the reincarnation cycle would be suppressed by ruthlessness. If the heaven's reincarnation cycle wasn't ruthless, then it wouldn't be the heaven's reincarnation cycle anymore. Unfortunate." The avatar let out a sigh as it disappeared. Red Butterfly coughed out a mouthful of blood. Her origin soul was damaged, but the hatred in her eyes were replaced by a hint of clarity. Wang Lin's origin soul returned to his body and his face became very pale. Although the battle between domains looked calm, it was the most dangerous part of this fight. The moment Red Butterfly's Sword of Intelligence landed, his origin soul was damaged. If it wasn't for the fact that his life and death domain had evolved when he reached the mid-stage of soul formation, his origin soul would have been destroyed. Even right now, his life and death domain was only a bit more powerful than Red Butterfly's domain. This was because, as Red Butterfly said, the heavenly reincarnation cycle was originally ruthless. However, there was a very fine line between ruthless and emotionless. Because of this difference, Wang Lin barely won. In truth, domain battles between cultivators were them proving their own Dao paths to each other. I understand. Red Butterfly's eyes released a mysterious light as she looked toward Wang Lin. All of her hatred disappeared. She returned to the completely cold and emotionless gaze she had when she first met Wang Lin. Wang Lin's heart sank. Red Butterfly was indeed a genius to be able to gain something from this domain battle. This woman must be killed or else Wang Lin won't have a day of peace in the future. Wang Lin moved. He slapped his bag of holding and took out the restriction flag. Restriction gas flew out and formed into a black lance. As more restriction gas entered the lance, there were sounds of it expanding. The lance grew larger and gained a stronger aura. All of the restriction gas had gathered in the lance. This was the peak power of the restriction flag after reaching its first completion stage. Wang Lin quickly charged forward with the lance in one hand. With his other hand he swung down the celestial sword. Boom! The ice giant let out a roar and jumped into the air to punch Wang Lin. However, the lance was longer, so it lunged toward Red Butterfly at the ice giant's forehead. The ice giant's hand grabbed the lance. However, the sword energy was right behind the lance, so it landed without any resistance. Bang! The giant let out a painful cry and its left hand smashed down as restriction gas entered its body. However, the lance didn't hit Red Butterfly but stabbed the giant's neck. Boom! The giant's eyes dimmed and it slowly fell to the ground. Red Butterfly took a deep breath and pointed at her brow. Then she came out of the ice giant and floated in the air. Her current body was very weak, her life treasure was used up, her domain avatar was destroyed, her origin soul was heavily injured, and the ice giant was destroyed. Right now she was as weak as she was back in the celestial realm. But she seemed to have a feeling of enlightenment and no longer had the urge to fight. She felt that once she comprehended this feeling, then killing this Tsang Nyo would be as simple as waving her hand. Countless cracks appeared on the giant as it fell and finally collapsed. All of the ice melted, revealing a pure white whip. Red Butterfly waved her hand and the Soul Lasher flew toward her. How could Wang Lin let her succeed? This was something he had to obtain. The lance quickly turned into a black whip and wrapped around the Soul Lasher. Red Butterfly's expression changed and she shouted, "You dare! Why wouldn't I dare?" Wang Lin laughed as he pulled the Soul Lasher toward him. He swung the celestial sword at Red Butterfly to prevent her from fighting him for it. Red Butterfly's face was gloomy. After pondering for a bit, she let go to dodge the sword energy and sneered at Wang Lin. "Zhang Niu, this Soul Lasher has a seal placed on it by the Heavenly Jade Sect. Even if you steal it, you won't be able to use it." As she spoke, the black line on Red Butterfly's forehead slowly faded away until it disappeared without a trace. Her domain avatar was destroyed during the domain battle, so her method to reach the soul transformation with relative ease was gone. But the enlightenment she gained made her confident that she would be able to break into the soul transformation stage on her own in a few decades. She took a deep breath and 4 rays of light suddenly appeared around her. When the lights disappeared, 4 figures appeared. Metal Spirit, Wood Spirit, Water Spirit, Fire Spirit. Aside from the Earth Spirit, the other elemental spirits all appeared. This was Red Butterfly's ultimate treasure. This was her root and where her talent came from. Wang Lin scanned the Soul Lasher with his divine sense. What he saw made his heart sink. There was a powerful seal on the Soul Lasher, so his divine sense couldn't get through it at all. Wang Lin snorted. He put the Soul Lasher into his bag of holding and then stared at the 4 elemental spirits. In today's battle, Wang Lin had been heavily injured. Aside from the various injuries on his body, his origin soul had also been damaged. This could be said to be a very bitter fight. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and he thought, "For spirits, my heaven-defying bead will use these to reach completion today." As Red Butterfly stared at Wang Lin, her hand formed a seal and she said, "For spirits, killing formation." After that she turned to leave. She wasn't in the mood to fight anymore and was ready to leave this place. Wang Lin was about to chase when the 4 spirits suddenly moved and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He shook the restriction flag in his hand and the lance reformed. He thrusted the lance toward the spirit in the front. The spirit increased its speed and collided with the lance. Wang Lin swung the celestial sword with his right hand, but the wood spirit went to block it as the water and metal spirits closed in on him. Wang Lin snorted. Back then, before he had reached the soul formation stage, he had to put in a lot of effort to win against one spirit. However, he was now at the mid of stage soul formation and had already planned on how to steal these elemental spirits from Red Butterfly. At this moment his eyes were calm. He slapped his bag of holding and 9 carvings appeared. These 9 wood carvings all contained the time domain. Aside from 2 of them, the remaining 7 were all made from the wood of the reincarnation tree. This material made it much easier to activate the time domain and was much more powerful. Wang Lin softly said, "Time!" An invisible shockwave suddenly spread out, and the 4 elemental spirits paused for a moment. Wang Lin's speed was very quick. He immediately grabbed hold of the metal spirit, and with one step suppressed the wood spirit. After that, he ignored the remaining 2 spirits and chased after Red Butterfly. Red Butterfly was more than 1,000 feet away when her face turned pale. She didn't expect that Zhang Niu would still have a powerful treasure left after this battle. She felt very bitter in her heart. No matter what, she had to kill this person today. Only by using all of her treasures and using the fact that she had a bit more spiritual energy than him could she kill him in one fell swoop. Her eyes darkened and she said, "Metal Spirit, explode!" The metal spirit being held by Wang Lin suddenly shook and began to release a destructive aura. Wang Lin let go of the metal spirit and teleported away. The wood spirit was still in Wang Lin's hands. Bang! The spirit exploded. Although Wang Lin teleported away, he was still hit by it. He coughed out a large mouthful of blood and immediately weakened. His cultivation became unstable after all of these injuries, so it dropped to the early stage of soul formation. After landing, Wang Lin immediately took out pills from his bag and swallowed them. His eyes flashed as he teleported to Red Butterfly. He formed a seal with his hand and said, "Red Butterfly, accept your death." Red Butterfly's eyes lit up and she said, "3 spirits, explode." The remaining 3 spirits trembled and 3 powerful, destructive auras began to spread. Wang Lin's expression changed greatly. Red Butterfly's eyes were cold. There was no color in her eyes as she said, "If you kill me, we both die together." Wang Lin's eyes became even colder as he pressed down the seal in his hand without any hesitation. For the first time, panic entered Red Butterfly's face. But just at this moment, a gentle power descended from the sky and surrounded the three spirits. The destructive force disappeared and the spirits were saved. A person silently appeared before Red Butterfly. This person was Suzaku's Gong Suimpa. He casually waved his right hand and Wang Lin was knocked back 100 feet. Wang Lin glared at Gong Suimpa and silently pondered. This power was not something he could fight against. And let's not forget that he was heavily injured. Tengyo Yuan. Go to Mount Suzaku to receive your order, and someone will arrange things for you. After that, you will be a disciple Suzaku invited from the outside. As one of these disciples, Suzaku can grant you one wish. Once you have decided on what you want, you can come to Mount Suzaku to state your wish. Gong Suimpa grabbed the three spirits and put them back inside Red Butterfly. However, when the wood spirit was flying over, Wang Lin clenched his teeth, swung the celestial sword, and cut it in half. He quickly molded half of the wood spirit into a crystal and put it inside his bag of holding. After he did this, he raised his head and looked at Gong Suimpa. You sure are bold. Looking at the fact that you won, I won't pursue this matter, but your wish is cancelled. Gong Suimpa coldly looked at Wang Lin. Then he pointed at the sky and the spirit that had exploded reformed. The old man put it back inside Red Butterfly as well. Color returned to Red Butterfly's face and she respectfully said, "Thank you, Elder." Gong Suimpa's gaze toward Red Butterfly wasn't kind. He reached out toward Wang Lin with his right hand and said, "Hand over the soul lasher." Wang Lin stared at Gong Suimpa and pondered a bit. Seeing that Gong Suimpa was getting impatient, he secretly let out a sigh. In the cultivation world, strength was all that mattered. He took out the soul lasher and bitterly handed it over. After Gong Suimpa grabbed the soul lasher, his right hand pointed at the air and the door of light appeared. "Let's go." Gong Suimpa walked through the door. Red Butterfly quickly followed. She turned around to coldly stare at Wang Lin and whispered, "You will die for sure next time." The current Red Butterfly didn't know that she only had 3 days left to live. A secret plot began unfolding after an order was given out by someone at Mount Suzaku. Wang Lin stepped into the door of light. When he reappeared on the altar, everyone was already gone like no one was ever there to begin with. After looking around, he found that he was the only person left. A piece of jade was floating in the air and releasing a gentle glow. Wang Lin waved his right hand and caught the jade. He checked the jade and found a map. The map led to Mount Suzaku. He pondered for a bit and sat down in the lotus position. He had sustained heavy injuries in his fight against Red Butterfly, and his cultivation was unstable. Even if he were to take pills, they would only help a bit and he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. If he wanted to completely recover, he would have to enter closed-door cultivation. After a long time, the sky darkened and Wang Lin stood up. He slapped his bag of holding and the mosquito beast appeared. He sat down on the mosquito, sent out a message to the mosquito, and continued to cultivate. The mosquito's flight became more smooth as it headed toward the direction Wang Lin instructed. The night was very quiet in Suzaku. The moon was high in the sky and moonlight covered the ground. 3 days later, a strange scene occurred in the back mountain of Mount Suzaku. Mount Suzaku was the holy land of Suzaku. In the front was the Suzaku's palace and in the back was the back mountain of Suzaku where one would require the permission of the current Suzaku to enter. The back mountain wasn't very large. It was only a large cave. This cave was divided into 4 layers. At the moment, there were 2 deep pools on the second layer. Both pools were releasing white gas. However, the gases from the 2 pools acted differently when they reached the ceiling. The white gas from one of the pools would immediately turn into frost and spread out. The white gas from the other pool would immediately become red water droplets and disappear into the ceiling. One pool was cold and the other was hot. The cool pool contained 30,000-year-old cold water from the heavenly frost planet. Suzaku paid a huge price for it. The flame pool contained 30,000-year-old fire from the origin fire planet. The cost was the same as the cool pool. Around these 2 pools were 99 top-quality spirit stones that made up 2 different formations and released an unimaginable amount of spiritual energy. At this moment, in the centers of each of the 2 pools, sat 1 male and 1 female. The man was sitting above the flame pool, and the female was sitting above the cold pool. Both of them were wearing very thin clothes and were cultivating. The male wasn't very handsome, but he emitted a slightly evil aura. However, this evil aura didn't irritate people. Instead, it made people feel a strange intimacy toward him. The female wasn't any less beautiful than Red Butterfly. She could be considered a national treasure. In addition, compared to Red Butterfly, this girl had a more charming atmosphere about her, making her even more alluring. If Wang Lin was here, he would feel that this woman was familiar. At this moment, an old man covered in a red glow entered the cave. This old man looked exactly like the dirty old man who gave Wang Lin the straw hat. However, their auras were very different. This was clearly a different person. After a long time, the old man slowly said, "Qian Feng." The male sitting inside the flame pool opened his eyes. The evil aura around him became even stronger. He remained calm after seeing the old man and said, "Qian Feng greets ancestor. Red Butterfly is inside the secret room. Go and devour her consciousness and domain." The old man's voice was filled with a sense of age. The man's eyes flashed and he said, "Red Butterfly? But she is Shueyu's heavenly daughter." When he said heavenly daughter, he licked his lips and made a face filled with disdain. The old man slowly said, "Her ruthless domain had a breakthrough in her battle with Cang Niu, so it's about to reach its first completion, but she hasn't realized it yet. Once you devour her, you will have gained the ruthless domain. As a result, your chance of reaching the ascendant stage will increase a bit more. I have searched for a very long time for this girl." The male stood up. As he did this, white gas was released from his body. His eyes revealed an evil gaze as he muttered, "Cang Niu, I don't know if he can take 1 hit using 10% of my cultivation with his cultivation level right now." The old man sighed. "It is a bit regrettable about Red Butterfly. This girl. I'm getting old and just can't bear to do certain things. Forget it, you go." The male faintly smiled and said, "Ancestor, you always say regrettable, but the title of Suzaku won't be passed to an outsider. It will either be me or junior apprentice sister." With that, his body slowly faded until it disappeared. Inside a chamber, Red Butterfly was cultivating with her eyes closed to recover. She opened her eyes and said, "Cang Niu, next time I'll definitely kill you." A gentle voice suddenly appeared inside the chamber. "I'll grant your wish for you." "Who?" Red Butterfly's eyes suddenly became serious. The evil-looking young man came out of the void and said to Red Butterfly, "I'm Qian Feng." Then he casually pointed with his finger. Red Butterfly's face changed. Her hand formed a seal and a red light started being emitted from her body. The young man shook his head and revealed a mocking smile. His finger shattered the red light and landed between Red Butterfly's eyebrows. Red Butterfly's body trembled. She wanted to struggle, but that finger was like a mountain. It made her unable to resist. "What are you doing?" Red Butterfly forced herself to calm down. Qian Feng's eyes looked extremely evil as he whispered in Red Butterfly's ear, "I want your domain and your 4 elemental spirits." Red Butterfly's master calculated that she would go through a calamity. However, her master got the wrong person. It wasn't Wang Lin but this Qian Feng. Inside the cave, the old man sighed again. "Unfortunately, there can only be one Suzaku." The old man's gaze landed on the woman sitting in the cold pool as he said, "Lu Mei." The woman inside the cold pool opened her eyes. Her eyes were calm as she looked at the old man. This woman was the Xiandao sect's Lu Mei. The old man said, "You made 1,000 avatars to go cultivate at various sects in different countries to comprehend the heaven's laws. One of the avatars went to the Xiandao sect in Zhao. Remember Wang Lin? He was a disciple of the Hongyu sect." Lu Mei pondered a bit and said, "Disciple has some memory, but it's not very clear. That Cang Niu is Wang Lin." There was no shock in Lu Mei's eyes. She only nodded and didn't say a word. "The original person I prepared for you was Zhou Yi from the 5 Elements sect. He had the crazed domain. If you could have left your mark on his Dao heart, you could have devoured his crazed domain. Unfortunately, This person disappeared within the celestial realm. Lu Mei pondered. The old man looked at Lu Mei and said, "You are about to leave your closed-door cultivation. That Zhang Niu should arrive soon, so you should go greet him. Use whatever method you can to leave your mark on his Tao heart. Use this man as your furnace to help your domain reach its greater completion. Once you succeed, you will gain control of his life and death domain. As a result, you will have a higher chance than Feng Heir to take the title of Suzaku." Lu Mei let out a sigh. She bit her lower lip and began to ponder. "Oh, you're not willing." The old man's eyes glowed red. They seemed reserved yet dignified. Lu Mei whispered, "Disciple obeys." The old man raised his head and looked into the distance. His eyes seemed to be able to see through the cave and into the distance where an old man was eating a drumstick in a rank 1 cultivation country. "Junior apprentice brother, of the 4 people you picked, Tang Niu is the weakest, so I guess you won't mind. I'm going into closed-door cultivation. I hope that when I come out, you will have already succeeded." After a long time, the old man withdrew his gaze and disappeared in a flash of red light. Lu Mei stood up. Her thin clothes stuck to her body, revealing a perfectly curved and exquisite figure. She wore a pale pink inner dress and then an outer white dress that revealed her alluring neck. The pleats of the skirt flowed lightly like splendid, white moonlight on the ground. 3,000 strands of her hair were tied up with a ribbon with one strand hanging in front of her chest. Her skin was as white as snow and the faint red blush that appeared on her face created a very charming and delicate aura. She was like a beautiful butterfly floating in the wind but at the same time as cold as ice. She was Lu Mei. Compared to when Wang Lin met her, she was even more alluring and beautiful. Wang Lin. Is it the young one with the large sword in the Hung Yu sect? Yes, he was the first person to regain his senses. I didn't think that he would enter the eyes of the ancestor in just 500 years. This person is not simple. Lu Mei let out a sigh and walked out of the cave. To leave my mark on his Tao heart will not be hard. However, is this the right way? Lu Mei revealed a look of confusion. At this moment, the evil-looking young man named Qian Feng floated into the cave with someone behind him. The person was Red Butterfly. However, Red Butterfly's eyes were like black holes and there was no sign of life on her body. She was like a puppet. Lu Mei calmly looked at Red Butterfly and didn't say a word. Qian Feng stopped 3 feet away from Lu Mei. He let out a smile, revealing his white teeth and said, "Junior apprentice sister, are you going to leave?" Lu Mei nodded and whispered, "Senior brother Qian Feng, is the person behind you Red Butterfly?" Qian Feng laughed. "Red Butterfly is already dead. She is my concubine Furnace. Let's just call her Heartless." Lu Mei carefully looked at Red Butterfly until she couldn't really bear to watch anymore. She knew that Red Butterfly had already lost her domain and life energy, and had become Qian Feng's puppet. The fact that a top beauty of this generation had suffered such a fate made Lu Mei feel melancholy. This was the 3rd person devoured by Qian Feng so far. Every time he devoured someone, his cultivation level increased. The ancestor was getting desperate to raise the next Suzaku. Qian Feng looked at Lu Mei's back with an evil gaze and muttered, "Junior apprentice sister, one day you will become my concubine. Heartless, what do you think?" Red Butterfly stood motionlessly behind him. There was no light in her eyes. It was as if she was just a corpse. Somewhere in a rank 1 cultivation country in Suzaku, a dirty old man who was eating a drumstick suddenly coughed a few times and spat out the chicken meat in his mouth. His face was extremely gloomy as he stood up, but then after pondering a bit, he sat down. His expression was extremely ugly as he muttered to himself, "Senior apprentice brother, you and I have battled throughout our entire lives. Are we going to continue to fight even when we are about to die? I lost the battle for the title of Suzaku back then so you could have it, but you shouldn't push it too far. Since Wang Lin was able to return from the celestial realm, he is chosen by me. If you ruin him, I'll ruin Qian Feng." He threw the chicken drumstick in his hand away and his eyes glowed with anger. However, I wonder what the chances of that junior Wang Lin turning that little girl Lu Mei into his cultivation furnace are. Senior apprentice brother, let's see if your disciple is better, or if my chosen candidate is superior. That will also be very fun. Wang Lin was cultivating with his eyes closed while sitting on the mosquito beast. After a long time, he opened his eyes and sighed. My body's injuries are fine. but the injuries to my soul are a problem. Also, I have this feeling of danger here in Suzaku. This feeling is definitely accurate. Red Butterfly's injuries were similar to mine, but she had a breakthrough. If I can't reach the late stage of soul formation by the time she comes out of closed-door cultivation, I'm afraid I won't be able to defend against her. Wang Lin was in deep thought when his expression suddenly changed. The mosquito stopped flying and looked around in confusion. Big Dipper transfer. An ancient voice suddenly yelled, and then a giant formation appeared in the sky. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to put the mosquito away and teleport. However, he only teleported 1,000 feet away before he was knocked out of his teleportation by an invisible force. Shortly after, the formation in the sky moved and a powerful surge of spiritual energy poured out of it. Wang Lin was shocked and was sucked into the formation. In the blink of an eye, his body disappeared inside the formation. The formation slowly disappeared and an old man slowly walked out. He muttered, "Country of Shuiyu, you owe this old man a favor." This person was the one that was sitting next to Gong Xuanpa. He was a foreign affairs elder. In a deserted area in the northern end of the Suzaku continent, a giant formation suddenly opened up and a person was thrown out. Wang Lin stopped his body midair. He looked around and his expression darkened. There was a middle-aged man before him as well as tables, chairs, and a tea set. The middle-aged man was sitting on the chair as he picked up the cup, took a sip and said, "Junior Tsungniu, I'm Shuiyu's sect master Li Yuanfeng. I'm here to take your life for Red Butterfly. Soul transformation." He was able to tell the middle-aged man's cultivation level at a glance. His expression darkened even more. Without any hesitation, he tried to rip open a spatial rift to escape with the star compass. Wang Lin knew that he couldn't resist a soul transformation cultivator. He could only try to escape. However, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly became cold. Normally, with Wang Lin's cultivation level, he could easily tear open space, but right now he couldn't tear it open even when using all his power. This didn't have anything to do with his cultivation level dropping. After all, he was still at the early stage of soul formation, so he should have easily been able to open a spatial rift. The middle-aged man put down the teacup and shook his head. "Little guy, to prevent you from escaping, I set a formation to seal the space in this area. Your star compass might as well be a pile of trash here." Without a word, Wang Lin turned to teleport, but then his eyes suddenly became even colder. He couldn't teleport. The star compass was useless and teleportation was useless. This person had clearly done plenty of research to set up this trap that prevented Wang Lin from escaping. Wang Lin took one step and quickly backed away. The middle-aged man casually poured another cup, gently blew at the tea, took a sip, put down the cup and stood up. He shook his head and said, "I normally don't act, but when I do, I don't let my guard down just because my target is at the soul formation stage. Sang Niu, you are definitely dying this time." He flew after Wang Lin. The middle-aged man flew at exactly the same speed as Wang Lin. He was going too slow to catch up on purpose, like a cat playing with a mouse. Wang Lin's expression darkened even more. He slapped his bag of holding and took out a piece of jade. He filled it with spiritual energy, causing a blue flame to quickly surround it, and then it disappeared. "Sun Tai, come quickly." Wang Lin sighed. Not long after, he quickly stopped. Before him stood 3 people. The 3 of them were all wearing black robes and their faces were covered. The person in the middle took a step forward and then an oppressive aura appeared. Another soul transformation cultivator. Wang Lin's heart felt very bitter. At this moment, the middle-aged man arrived. He stopped 100 feet away from Wang Lin and said, "There is no need to run, Tung Niu. Today is the day you die." With that, he raised his right hand and pointed at Wang Lin. A whirlwind suddenly appeared and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin quickly backed up. He took out the celestial sword and slashed at the whirlwind. The sword energy shattered the whirlwind and charged toward the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man revealed a mocking smile. He caught the sword energy with his hand and crushed it. "What's this?" The middle-aged man was a bit surprised. His right hand felt a bit numb. Wang Lin sighed again. After his cultivation level dropped, his spiritual energy was a mess. His origin soul had also taken damage, so he couldn't even show the same power he had when fighting Red Butterfly. Wang Lin clenched his teeth and turned around to escape again. Just at this moment, the soul transformation cultivator wearing black robes let out snort. He caught up to Wang Lin like lightning and gently hit Wang Lin's back with his palm. Wang Lin let out a painful groan. He only had time to focus all of the remaining spiritual energy in his body on his back, and use the celestial sword to block. However, his body was still hit by a powerful force and was knocked into the ground 1,000 feet away. He coughed out a huge mouthful of blood along with some small pieces of his internal organs. Wang Lin's face was almost like a dead person's. There were now more injuries on top of his previous ones. The black-robed person reached out and took Wang Lin's celestial sword. He said, "This is a good sword. There is even a sword spirit inside. Not bad." The middle-aged man faintly smiled and said, "This sword belongs to you, but that little flag that can attract divine retribution belongs to me." The black-robed old man laughed and said, "Okay, the star compass originally belonged to my clan, so I'm going to take it back." The middle-aged man nodded and said, "Of course." Wang Lin struggled to get up. His legs were trembling slightly. This was due to his injuries. With a sullen expression, he looked at the black-robed old man and said, "Giant Demon Clan." The black-robed old man took off his mask, revealing a gray-haired elder, but his eyes were like the moonlight. He looked at Wang Lin and laughed. "Junior Tsungyo, this old man is indeed from the Giant Demon Clan. Back in the Celestial Realm, you stole the star compass from our young master, so I'm here to take it back today. I hope you won't mind." Wang Lin's gaze was dark. His right hand trembled as he took out pills from his bag and ate them before the two soul transformation cultivators. Then he calmly said, "Two soul transformation old monsters came out at once to kill me. This honor, I'll remember it." The middle-aged man faintly smiled and said, "That is correct. Even though you are going to die, you should die with a smile. As for your treasures, I'm very interested in them." With that, he pointed at Wang Lin again. This time, a surge of spiritual energy shot out from the middle-aged man's finger toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin had managed to recover a bit of spiritual energy, so he took out the restriction flag and shook it. Restriction gas came out and formed walls of restriction to block that surge of spiritual energy. Many layers of the restriction gas were shattered, but it managed to stop the spiritual energy that was heading toward Wang Lin. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up as looked toward the restriction flag in Wang Lin's hand and smiled. "What a good little flag. I have to study it carefully." From his point of view, Tsungyo would die for sure. It was impossible for two soul transformation cultivators to be unable to kill a mere soul formation cultivator. Wang Lin's face became even more pale and a hint of despair appeared in his heart. His original body definitely couldn't come. Ignoring the fact that it was too far away, his original body still couldn't come here or he would die for real. He had to stall for time until Sun Tai arrived. This was the only way. However, all of his spiritual energy was used up when he used the restriction flag. There was no more spiritual energy left in his body. The middle-aged man was about to point his finger again when one of the people in black beside the old man went forth and respectfully said, "Ancestor, let Junior kill this person to avenge myself." The middle-aged man lowered his hand and looked toward the ancestor of the Giant Demon Clan. The ancestor looked at the black-cloaked person and nodded. The black-cloaked person turned around and took off his mask. It was Chihu. Chihu's eyes were calm as he flew toward Wang Lin. "Chihu." As Wang Lin held the restriction flag in his hand, his eyes revealed a complicated feeling. "Tsungyo, accept your death." Chihu shouted, but his eyes revealed a mysterious light. His palm shot out a wave of spiritual energy. When Wang Lin saw Chihu's gaze, his heart skipped a beat. That wave of spiritual energy that was flying toward Wang Lin had no attack power. It was absorbed by Wang Lin's body. Soon, spiritual energy began to fill Wang Lin's body. Chihu quickly arrived before Wang Lin and kicked him, causing him to fly very far. This kick not only didn't harm Wang Lin, it even sent another wave of spiritual energy into him. "Brother Tsung, escape to the southeast." Chihu's anxious voice entered Wang Lin's ears. The middle-aged man was able to see through it instantly and snorted. The ancestor of the Giant Demon Clan charged out and shouted, "Chihu, what are you doing?" Chihu moved to block his ancestor. His eyes were clear as he shouted, "Ancestor, that star compass is something I gifted to Tsungyo, not something he stole." I Chihu am a man. Donghua saved me multiple times in the celestial realm, and he is my friend. How could I abandon him just like that? The ancestor of the giant demon clan let out an angry laugh. He was about to go around Chihu. However, Chihu roared and the axe image on his forehead flashed. He took a step toward his ancestor and shouted, "That star compass is useless to us. So what if I give it to someone else? You already took his flying sword. Is that not enough?" The ancestor suddenly turned around and stared at Chihu. He reached out with his hand and Chihu immediately felt himself completely locked in place by a powerful force. "If you weren't the junior with the most pure giant demon blood, I would kill you today, you ungrateful brat. Once we return to the clan, you will be punished with 100 years of closed-door cultivation and suffer the pain of having your body refined." With that, he chased after the escaping Wang Lin. Chihu clenched his fists as he looked toward where Wang Lin had escaped to. "Brother Tsung, I tried my best." Chihu felt melancholy. He didn't think that Wang Lin was going to survive. The reason he was willing to offend the ancestor was to not disappoint himself. "I, Chihu, am an honorable man. Donghua considers me a friend, so I can't do something so heartless." Wang Lin had recovered some spiritual energy with Chihu's help and was using it to escape. As he flew, Wang Lin pointed at this brow and sighed. He didn't know what formation the enemies had laid down. He only knew that he couldn't tear open space nor teleport, and he even felt something blocking him from entering the heaven-defying bead. At least right now he wouldn't be able to enter it without some time. This formation was very mysterious. It was not only Wang Lin who couldn't teleport, the giant demon clan ancestor who placed the formation couldn't teleport either. The celestial sword was stolen. "If I live today, I must take it back." A hint of hatred appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. However, just at this moment, the middle-aged man caught up to Wang Lin and coldly said, "You won't be able to escape. I'll send you to your death." He lifted his right hand and pressed down with his right thumb. A powerful force surged out from the thumb, but just before the force hit Wang Lin, a powerful domain also surged toward him. This domain had a fragrance, the fragrance of tea. To put all of one's effort into appreciating tea to experience life, and have the tea accompany one for life. Wang Lin's life and death domain immediately appeared. But when put up against the domain of a soul transformation cultivator, he couldn't compete. He coughed out more blood and his origin soul was damaged again. Wang Lin's body fell from the sky. Marks that looked like tea leaves appeared on Wang Lin's face. Every time they shined, Wang Lin's body would weaken. His origin soul was slowly dissipating. At this moment, the ancestor of the giant demon clan caught up and lowered his head to look at Wang Lin. "We have already wasted a lot of time. After you kill this person, I still have other things to do. Fellow cultivator Li, go ahead." The middle-aged man's eyes lit up and he smiled. "You're not willing to act because you're afraid of Mount Suzaku. Fine, since this is my plan, I'll do it." With that, he pointed at Wang Lin. He was about to end Wang Lin's life. However, just at this moment, a thunderous clap came from the sky and a giant rift in space was torn open. A black and purple coffin descended from the sky. A cold snort came from the coffin. The heaven and death demon sealing formation. If I didn't already know this formation, it would have been really hard for me to enter. A red-robed old man stared at the three below him with glowing eyes. After seeing the giant demon clan ancestor and the middle-aged man, his face darkened and he cursed. "Donghua, do you have nothing better to do instead of getting yourself into trouble? I have to say, aren't you two old farts embarrassed to have to team up to kill a soul formation junior? Corpse sect." The middle-aged man withdrew his finger. His eyes sparkled as he stared at the old man. The red-robed old man was the corpse sect's head elder, Sun Tai. Sun Tai's expression was sullen as he looked at the middle-aged man before him. He then moved his gaze to the giant demon clan ancestor. He secretly cursed. Although the giant demon clan ancestor was only at the early stage of soul transformation, he knew that members of the giant demon clan gained access to their bloodline's power when they reached the soul transformation stage. Even though he was at the mid-stage of soul transformation, that power was something he wouldn't easily mess with. Sun Tai said, "I'm going to take this person away." "Fellow cultivator." The middle-aged man from Xueyu was about to speak, Sun Tai looked at the middle-aged man and shouted, "Shut your damn mouth and scram! A mere early-stage soul transformation cultivator, and one that reached it by force, doesn't have the qualifications to talk to me." The middle-aged man's face changed from blue to red. Ever since he had reached the soul transformation stage, he was treated like a sovereign in Xueyu. Even when meeting other soul transformation cultivators, none of them dared to talk to him like this. Sun Tai snorted and turned his gaze toward the giant demon clan ancestor. The giant demon clan ancestor's expression was sullen as he stared at Sun Tai. After pondering a bit, he shook his head and said, "No, this person must die and his corpse must belong to me." The middle-aged man from Xueyu was surprised. He turned his head to look at the giant demon clan ancestor. This was the first time that he said he wanted the corpse. Sun Tai snorted and shouted, "You're not a member of my corpse sect. What use do you have for the corpse?" The giant demon clan ancestor stared at Sun Tai and decisively said, "I have my own use." He indeed did have use for the corpse. Even if the Xueyu man hadn't come to ask him, he would still have secretly acted to kill Wang Lin. He knew that Teng Niu's real name was Wang Lin. Taking back the star compass was just an excuse to kill Wang Lin. The real reason was the news that was brought back by a clan member who went to open a foreign battleground 500 years ago. The heaven-defying bead is a treasure even the Cultivation Alliance wants. If my giant demon clan gets it and gives it to the Cultivation Alliance, we will definitely be granted rank 6 status. Then we can leave Suzaku and get our own giant demon clan planet. Then my clan will have the ability to have ascendant-level cultivators. The heaven-defying bead was obtained by this Wang Lin. All of these thoughts quickly flew through his head. He made up this mind that Wang Lin wouldn't be stolen by anyone else today. That year, the clan member that reported the news was immediately killed by him, and had his soul carefully searched. After determining that the clan member didn't tell anyone else and that the number of people that knew was very small, he decided to not kill everyone off and to secretly look for Wang Lin. However, although the ancestor had a lot of power, Wang Lin seemed to have evaporated, and Suzaku was simply too big. Based on information from the clan member, Wang Lin had disappeared inside a spatial rift inside the foreign battleground. Thus, he personally went to the foreign battleground and searched inside the spatial rift for 100 years but still found nothing. He gradually put it in the back of his mind and felt regret. He believed that Wang Lin had died without any remains and the heaven-defying bead was once again lost. However, all of this changed when Teng Niu appeared. He found what Chi-Hu said to be strange. After using his status as the ancestor to force Chi-Hu finally told him the truth. The ancestor immediately became suspicious. After doing some investigation, he found that Teng Niu was Wang Lin. As a result, he immediately became happy, but due to Suzaku's interference, he couldn't act or else everything would be nothing but a dream. However, he did kill the one other person that knew of this matter. It was a messenger from a rank 4 cultivation country. When the giant demon clan ancestor searched the messenger's soul, he found that the messenger wasn't sure of the news and hadn't reported it. After confirming this, he relaxed and decided to wait for the right moment to kill Wang Lin. One day, Xueyu's Li Yuan came to ask him to set up a formation to help kill Wang Lin. He came up with the excuse of retrieving the star compass so that he could get close to Wang Lin. As a result, even if Suzaku were to look into this matter, Xueyu would take the blow and he would be able to secretly take the heaven-defying bead. Even if Wang Lin were to die, he could use a secret technique to find the whereabouts of the heaven-defying bead. Sun Tai's eyes darkened. He snorted and flew toward Wang Lin. The middle-aged man quickly flew up. He took out a bronze watch and was about to block Sun Tai. But Sun Tai shouted, "Scram!" And a force surged out from Sun Tai's body, causing the middle-aged man to pause for a moment. "You dare!" The giant demon clan ancestor threw out a punch. A black vortex suddenly appeared and closed in on Sun Tai. Sun Tai's right hand pointed at the coffin behind him. The lid of the coffin moved a bit, and a mummified body flew out to fight the giant demon clan ancestor. He took this opportunity to reach out and grab Wang Lin. Wang Lin was very weak at the moment. His eyes were closed and his face was deathly pale. Without a word, Sun Tai turned around and flew into the rift. The middle-aged man's expression was unsettled. He hesitated for a bit and didn't act. How could the giant demon clan ancestor watch this fat sheep be stolen right out of his hands? He let out a roar as his body crackled and his body suddenly became 100 feet tall. Then a giant axe appeared in his hand. After chasing Sun Tai into the rift, he swung the axe down, causing a thunderous roar to echo in the void. A giant wave of axe energy shot out, causing Sun Tai's expression to darken. He already knew that the giant demon clan was difficult to deal with. His right hand formed a seal and he shot it at the axe energy. Boom! After a loud boom, Sun Tai charged out of the rift. The giant demon clan ancestor let out a roar. With a few steps, he walked out of the rift and chased after Sun Tai. In the northern part of the Suzaku continent, one could see 2 rays of light flying across the sky. While Sun Tai ran, his face was gloomy and he cursed. "You really think I'm scared of you?" His right hand drew a seal and he pressed it on Wang Lin's forehead. Then he threw Wang Lin's body into the dense forest below. The moment Wang Lin landed, he struggled to open his eyes and then sat down in the lotus position. He began to cultivate to counter the middle-aged man's domain and Sun Tai's seal. He was awake now and knew that Sun Tai didn't have any good intentions. To Sun Tai, coming to save Wang Lin was better than dying. The giant demon clan ancestor chased after them. With a wave of his giant axe, he sent out a wave of axe energy. With a bang, the space before Sun Tai exploded, creating countless small rifts. Sun Tai cursed. He pointed to the air and 3 rays of green light flew out. The 3 rays of light turned into 3 corpses that charged toward the giant demon clan ancestor. Sun Tai shouted, "Explode for me!" Bang! 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 Heaven-splitting explosions occurred in the sky. The powerful force from the explosions pushed the giant demon clan ancestor back several dozen feet. Sun Tai's expression was furious as he charged forward. At the same time, his right hand turned into a giant palm that pressed down upon the giant demon clan ancestor. The ancestor was ever gloomy. He was only at the early stage of soul transformation. If it wasn't for the fact that he had a powerful body and his bloodline's power, he wouldn't dare to steal from a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator. However, Wang Lin was too important to his giant demon clan, so he could only fight. The giant palm contained power far beyond spiritual energy. Soul transformation cultivators didn't use spiritual energy from the heavens and earth. They needed celestial spiritual energy to increase their cultivation level. Therefore, their attacks would naturally contain some celestial spiritual energy hidden within. Before, when the middle-aged man and the ancestor attacked Wang Lin, they didn't use any celestial spiritual energy. After all, celestial spiritual energy couldn't be recovered unless they had celestial jade, so they wouldn't carelessly use it. Celestial jades were very difficult to get hold of. This was the reason why there weren't many soul transformation cultivators and why there were so few life and death battles between the ones that were around. Generally speaking, soul transformation cultivators don't casually use celestial spiritual energy, but when they do, their power is terrifying. Using celestial spiritual energy was something unique to cultivators at the soul transformation stage and above. It was the same with domains for soul transformation cultivators and above. This was a change in quality of one's power. Although this palm from Sun Tai was just a simple palm without any powerful techniques behind it. If it was a normal attack, it wouldn't be much, but because it contained a bit of celestial spiritual energy, its power was immense. Even if it were just a simple fireball technique, if it contained a bit of spiritual energy, it would be a dangerous move. The celestial spiritual energy caused the giant demon clan ancestor to be shocked. His eyes lit up and a bit of celestial spiritual energy entered his right hand. He swung down his axe to meet the palm. Boom! After a loud explosion, the ground shattered and rainbow-colored light filled the sky as a shock wave spread out. Half of a huge nearby mountain collapsed into dust. This shockwave came quickly and disappeared just as quick, so it didn't spread too far. After all, neither of them used much celestial spiritual energy. The giant demon clan ancestor's body trembled as blood came seeping out from the corner of his mouth. He was furious, but he didn't charge at Sun Tai. Instead, he charged toward the forest that was collapsing. "I am a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator. I don't believe I can't kill you. Once I kill you, I'm sure I can get a good price for the corpse of a giant demon clan member." Sun Tai snorted as he charged forward and raised his hand in the air. He shouted, Thunder! With a bang, a ray of black lightning appeared in the sky and descended. Sun Tai shouted. My thunder domain was obtained after I paid a heavy price to cultivate at the heavenly thunder planet for 100 years. You're merely a branch member of the giant demon clan. Die for me. The giant demon clan ancestor's expression darkened when he saw the black lightning. He let out a roar, causing his body to grow 30 feet taller, and punched the descending lightning. Boom! Another loud boom. The lightning traveled through the ancestor's body, causing his face to become pale. More blood seeped out the corners of his mouth as he stared at Sun Tai. At this moment, the middle-aged man from Xueyu quietly teleported next to where Wang Lin was cultivating. He let out a cruel smile as he raised his hand to kill Wang Lin. Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and revealed a vicious gaze. He had just tried to recover earlier but found that this person's T domain and the seal from Sun Tai together had formed a powerful seal. As a result, he couldn't recover any spiritual energy at all. Even when he took pills, the moment the pills dissolved, the spiritual energy would be absorbed by the seals. The amount of spiritual energy he currently had was less than what a foundation establishment cultivator had. It was only at about the level of a third-layer Qi condensation cultivator, and it was constantly draining. Once all of the spiritual energy was drained from his body, he would be like a mortal and could be killed easily by a mortal martial artist. His origin soul was extremely weak and could collapse at any time, so he couldn't even leave his body. This was the most serious injury he had ever suffered in his life besides the one time he lost his body. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up and he pressed down with his right hand. But just he did so, a ray of black lightning suddenly descended from the sky. The middle-aged man's expression suddenly changed as he quickly used all of his power to escape. However, the lightning seemed to have grown eyes and chased after him. In the blink of an eye, the lightning and the middle-aged man disappeared over the horizon. Humph, you dare to try sneak by me. Sun Tai sneered and formed a seal with his hands. He decided to scare away the giant demon clan ancestor before settling down to deal with Wang Lin. He had already decided that he would completely seal Wang Lin this time to prevent his origin soul from being destroyed. The giant demon clan ancestor's eyes revealed a mysterious light. He looked at Sun Tai and said, I'll take this person away and return him in 7 days. Sun Tai said without any hesitation, Not possible. How could he let this person take Wang Lin away? It would be like putting his origin soul in the hands of someone else. The giant demon clan ancestor pondered a bit and then said, It was you who forced me. This is the first time I have used my bloodline's power since reaching the soul transformation stage. Take my attack. After he finished speaking, he took a deep breath and the veins on his head popped out like he was enduring massive amounts of pain. Soon a giant vortex appeared behind him. Black light was being emitted by the vortex as it slowly spun. A mysterious force was spreading out from it. Sun Tai's expression changed. Just at this moment, the giant demon clan ancestor shouted, Turn! The vortex behind him suddenly began to spin rapidly, and a powerful suction force appeared. However, this suction force had no effect on the surroundings. It only affected Sun Tai. Sun Tai immediately felt the powerful suction force from the vortex, and felt himself being pulled. He clenched his teeth and used the celestial spiritual energy in his body without any reservation. He pointed to the air and a red coffin suddenly appeared. Sun Tai's palm hit the coffin, causing it to shatter. The body of a boy floated out of the coffin. Turn! The giant demon clan ancestor shouted again. The veins on his body bulged out even more. The bloodline ability was very stressful to his body, and because his cultivation level wasn't high enough, he could only last a few breaths. The vortex began to spin like crazy and Sun Tai was dragged into it. He revealed a reluctant look and shouted, Demon child, kill him! The boy suddenly opened its eyes, revealing a demonic light. It took one step and arrived before the giant demon clan elder. Its speed was several times faster than teleporting. The giant demon clan ancestor saw the boy land a hit on his chest. He suddenly felt a destructive force hit his body. He coughed out a large mouthful of blood as his origin soul quickly escaped his body along with his bag of holding. The boy then kicked a hole through the giant demon clan ancestor's body. However, Sun Tai had already been pulled into the vortex. He let out a scream of frustration and slowly disappeared. The giant demon clan's bloodline's power had no ability to attack due to the low cultivation level of the giant demon clan ancestor. However, it could teleport someone far away from Suzaku and into the distant stars. As the vortex disappeared, Sun Tai also disappeared. The boy was the only thing left floating in the air. After a pause, he chased after the giant demon clan's ancestor. The giant demon clan's ancestor didn't have time to grab Wang Lin. After letting out a frustrated roar, he quickly escaped. The boy quickly chased after him and the two of them disappeared over the horizon. Wang Lin let out a sigh of relief as he struggled to stand up and walk out of the forest. With every step he took, he could feel this body getting weaker and the amount of spiritual energy in his body lessening. Li Yuanfeng's domain and Sun Tai's seal had fused almost perfectly, sealing his power. The image of the tea leaf became more and more solid until it turned into a scar on Wang Lin's forehead. This scar formed a strange shape, the shape of Sun Tai's seal. Wang Lin bitterly smiled and struggled to walk for a long time. He felt like there was a mountain on top of him and every step was a struggle. By the time he made it out of the forest, all of the spiritual energy in his body had been used up. Not a sliver of it remained. His physical injuries were extremely bad. He felt waves of pain coming from his internal organs, and his origin soul was so weak that it was about to collapse. Once he walked out of the forest, he felt the sunlight on his body. His body suddenly felt really weak and he blacked out before even falling to the ground.